What's up everybody, I'm Kirk, welcome back to the channel. First-person shooters is a vast genre, but I'll admit, when you've played a lot of them, like one every week for your YouTube channel a lot, you get pretty accustomed to the common themes, styles, and gameplay elements, which is why it's refreshing when a game comes along that tries to shake things up by offering a fresh approach to tried and true gameplay. Developed by Dang and published by the delightful maniacs at Devolver Digital, Boomerang X aims to reimagine the arena shooter with a movement style all its own with a singular weapon that requires no bullets. Is Boomerang X a breath of fresh air or an artsy gimmick? Stick around and let's find out. But before all that, if you're new here and find yourself digging what you're seeing, please consider subscribing, liking, and ringing the bell to help support this channel. Alrighty, let's begin. In Boomerang X, you play as a bandaged sailor who has been marooned on a strange tropical island. Venturing further, they discover the remains of a civilization of giant insects, who were decimated by a force of inky goo monsters, who still infest this once thriving paradise. Soon it becomes clear to the sailor that the only way out is in, and after finding a most curious weapon, they charge, or rather glide, forth to gain their freedom and defeat the foul blight plaguing this island. Boomerang takes a light approach to its narrative, leaning into environmental storytelling, which I always appreciate in my shooters. Descending into the island, you will see the tragic evidence of a species that was unable to protect their beautiful homeland. You're not totally alone. Along your journey, you will meet Tepan, the caterpillar, a pleasant bug who clues you into what took place here and gives you hints of what is ahead. Boomerang's tale didn't really move me one way or the other. This is very much a scenario meant to motivate the gameplay, and maybe give the player a few chuckles now and then. But I do think it is presented well, and I like that there is room for the player to come up with their own interpretation, if they so desire. Visually, Boomerang X is gorgeous, with an elegant art style that often reminded me of the animated works of Genndy Tartakovsky. You know, Samurai Jack, the very first Clone Wars, Primal, Powerpuff Girls. Yo, shout out to that Beatles episode. This is due to its use of simple but distinguished shapes, with vibrant colors and inky, paper-like textures. It gives a feeling of something hand-drawn, or should I say hand-painted. And as you might be able to tell, the visuals are heavily inspired by South Asian culture, and I'm going to assume mythology, which is lovely. And I'm happy to say the art direction serves the gameplay. The colorful arenas make the pitch black enemies easy to identify, with the brightest of colors always being their red ruby weak points. I also want to highlight how black ink will encroach upon your screen whenever an enemy is near you, alerting you to the danger. An ingenious bit of UI design that fits this game's visual style perfectly. Arenas range from lush, serene gardens to expansive underground caverns, illuminated by the orange glow of towering lava streams. No two arenas look the same. Each are distinct, providing the visual variety I often yearn for in my games. My enthusiasm for the visuals also carry over to the music, a soundtrack that harkens to traditional Japanese folk music with an action-heavy beat that grows in intensity and complexity as more and more waves of enemies come at you. But what I loved the most was how the music would change whenever I entered the bullet time-like flux mode, a transition so smooth it actually took me a couple arenas to realize I was the one doing it. I really don't have any criticisms for this game's presentation. Dang, you nailed it with flying colors. If I had anything to say against it, it would be related to the performance, which is good throughout, except for a few portions I felt slow down when the arena got a little too populated. And every once in a while, the game would hitch quite badly when loading in a new enemy wave. But honestly, that's like complaining about an empty beer can floating in a pristine mountain lake. It's annoying, but it's hardly ruining the view. Boomerang's structure is simple. The player has to complete a series of escalating arena combat challenges, fighting waves of intensifying enemies. When an arena is beaten, the player will receive a new ability or power, a new tool in the toolbox that the next arena will test them on. The further you go, the more you gain, the more complex the challenge becomes. Like I said, simple. But what gives this game its unique spin, so to speak, is the titular boomerang, giving a whole new meaning to boomer shooter. Oof, that one didn't sound quite as corny on paper. The boomerang is a four-bladed spinning wheel of lovely laceration. Obviously, no matter where you throw it, the boomerang will return. But the player can recall it at any time, perfect for rapid attacks and extra kills on the return trip. Holding down the fire button can charge the boomerang so it goes even further. Important for getting those hard to reach baddies, but more so handy with the slingshot ability. Slingshot is probably the most important ability of the game. It works like this: left click to throw the boom, left click again to teleport to the boom. Sling to the boom, if you will. And you can sling to the boom as many times as you want. Once you gain this ability, you will come to understand. Boomerang X is not played on the ground, it's played in the air. Enjoy the floor while you have it, because before long, the floor will be lava, lightning, or whatever kind of thing brings the pain. Pretty cool, right? That's not even the best part. It's when you earn the Flux ability that the gameplay really comes to life. Flux is basically bullet time. When charging the boom, holding down the shift key will slow down time, allowing the player to better survey, move, and attack around the battlefield. So now the combat loop becomes boom, sling, flux, and slice. And oh yeah, it's fun. This game might be about a boomerang, but it's gonna make you feel like a samurai. A samurai crossed with Spider-Man and Tracer from Overwatch. But what keeps it fresh are the ever-evolving enemies. Each new arena brings a new foe that requires a different strategy to defeat. At first, you take on plump ground and air dwellers that can be handled with a single throw, but then you encounter enemies with one or many weak points that must be shattered to defeat. Some enemies can spawn more enemies, and sometimes they'll have shield bugs protecting them. Some enemies can teleport about the map, while others can be towering beasts who envelop the whole battlefield in dangerous storm clouds. Like I said, the challenge escalates. Is this game difficult? I think tricky is the better word for it. There was never a challenge I felt hopeless to overcome, but I'd be lying if I said the game didn't get me sweating. There's little room for error. Your health is comprised of these shields, which you earn after completing each arena. Just one hit from an enemy will wipe out a shield, and while you can heal, it is limited and not easy to do. More on that later. You have to be vigilant, keeping aware of where your enemies are and which parts of the arena you can safely travel to. I should also mention the game's difficulty is tailored to your control style, mouse and keyboard or gamepad, which I don't think I've ever seen before but thought was pretty cool. After gaining the boomerang abilities, you'll gain special attacks, which are charged from getting multiple kills with one throw. The shotgun-like scattershot and the railgun-like needle. Get 3 kills while airborne, and you can also use Blaze, a fiery shockwave that bursts out when you touch the ground or an enemy. All of these specials are critical for success and give even more weight to the Flux ability, as it's the most efficient way to line up multiple kills. So, was there anything I didn't like? Well, I'm not really a fan of how healing works. Within each arena, there will be a handful of circular platforms that will restore one of your health shields. Takes a few seconds, a few long seconds, of standing on them for this to happen, and you can only use them once. Seems straightforward, right? Well, what's the problem? It's not that there's a problem necessarily, but often I found healing to be more hazardous than helpful. Whenever I found myself on the ropes and needed to heal, upon landing on the platform, I would find a mob of enemies heading right towards me. Yeah, I could fight them off, but chances were I was going to get hit on my blind side. Keep in mind, the best way to stay alive in this game is to keep moving, so stopping to heal is one of the most dangerous things you can do. It takes some strategy to heal. Perhaps you need to save up your Blaze ability to do it, or maybe sneak in a heal between waves, which is easier said than done as the turnover is quick. Or just wait until there's only a handful of enemies left to do it, which is a little cheap, but hey, it works. The thing is, the further I got into the game, the more I just flat out ignored the mechanic. It was too much of a pain. Why spend the energy giving myself the time and room to heal one measly shield when I'm better off focusing on the best combat practices and protecting the health I have? Honestly, I question whether the mechanic needs to be in the game at all. I think it's a perfectly fair challenge to expect the player to finish the arenas with the health they have. It's what a lot of players are going to end up doing anyway. But that's really just me nitpicking. If anything, it's a slightly rough edge on what is otherwise a gem of a game. Boomerangx is a cool game, a stunning effort visually that nails its unique take on first-person combat. The game took me around 4.5 hours to beat, and that's including deaths and the time I took to pause and take notes. It's a short experience, but honestly, for a game that is a series of combat challenges, I think it's just right. But if that length is making you wince, I'm happy to say that there's a new Game Plus mode after the credits roll, that throws even more complex enemies at you early on and in greater numbers. You still need to recollect all of your boomerang abilities, but you can still use your unlocked special attacks, which is nice. So far, I've had just as much fun replaying on this mode. If you're a shooter fan looking to shake things up, I can't recommend this enough. And if you're a Devolver devotee, it's hard to imagine this one disappointing. But what do you think of Boomerangx? Is this looking like something that's right up your alley? Be sure to let me know in the comments. And if you enjoyed the video, please be sure to subscribe, like, and ring the bell for notifications on new uploads. It's a couple clicks for you, but a massive help for this channel. I'm Kirk, and thank you for watching this video. Stay safe out there.